Hi everyone, this is Vanessa Gertman from AlpusCast. Welcome back to the Fireplace series. Today we're going to add some tests for listing projects. Let's get started. Let's start by copying the welcome test file and use that as a starting point for our new tests. We're going to call it ProjectListTest. Now for these tests, I know that I'm going to be creating objects in our test database. But each time I run a test, I really want the database to be empty. That way previous test runs don't impact the current one. Alpus has a built-in interface that we can inherit from to take care of this for us. It's called Refresh Database, so let's add that in. Alright, so the first test I want to do is making sure that the home page redirects to the project list page. So most of our tests are going to follow the format given, when, then. You might be familiar with this test format already, and it comes from behavioral-driven development. In case you're not familiar, basically in the given section, we're going to set up some initial context. In the when section, we're going to execute some action. In the then section, we're going to verify that something is true. Since we want to test that the call is redirected, we need to not follow the redirect. Pulsar has a function that does this, and it's called trap redirects. IntelliJ isn't finding that for me, so I'm just going to paste in the import I need for that. I was also missing the imports for given, then, when, so now we have those in there. Our action in this case is going to be a GET request to the home route. And our assertion is that the redirect goes to a route named projects.list. And the status code should be 302. All right, that should be all we need. Let's go ahead and run this. And it passed, that's great. You'll notice there is sometimes some red text in here, but in this case, we don't need to worry about it. Our test passed, and that's all we need. Let's add another test. Since our project list route requires authentication, let's check that if you try to access that route without being logged in, you get redirected to the login page. So we want to trap redirects again. This time we're going to try to go to /projects. This time we need to be redirected to the login page. Let's run this. Great, that one passed too. Let's do another test. This time, I want to act as a logged in user and make sure we can get to the project list view. So I need to be acting as a user. I don't really care which one. So I'm going to use this helper function as random user. And as a random user, I'm going to do a get on /projects. Okay, that should be good. Now in this case, we're not expecting a redirect. We should get back a view. That's called project_list. And the view should have gotten a property called projects. And that should be an empty list of projects. Okay, let's give this a shot. Awesome, this test passed. Let's do another one. And this time I actually want to try acting as a user who has projects and making sure that their projects get passed to the view. In this case, I can't use a random user, so I'm going to go ahead and create my own using the user factory. And this from should be coming from Ozone, so let me add that here. All right, now we have a user. Next up, I need to make some projects. And the best way to do that is just like we did with the user, to have a project factory. We don't have one yet, so let's go ahead and create one. Just a reminder, factories are in the /database/factories folder. I'm going to copy user factory and make this a project factory. We're not going to need this hasher because we don't have a password or anything. And instead of a user, this needs to be project. And this will be projects. The table is going to be projects. This is pretty good, but I would like all of our projects to have a title and a description. So let's set that up in the factory using Faker, which is what user factory was using to set up things like the name. So I'm going to say that the title, and we can use the lorem, and title should be a sentence, and then description should be like a paragraph. You'll notice we have errors here, and if I go ahead and hover over them, it's just basically saying this is a val, you can't reassign it. I'm okay with title being reassigned, so I'm going to change it. Same with description. Great, so now we have a project factory that we can use. Let's go ahead and create some projects. And in this case, I want to make a couple, so I'm just going to say 3. And I want to make sure that their owner is this user we just made. I'm going to set the owner ID. Okay, so we don't really need trap redirects here anymore, so I'm going to delete this. Our new win condition is going to be that we're acting as a user, and it's our user that we just made. We're going to get /projects, and this is still good, but then this view is going to be different now. So I'm going to get the returned projects. I'm going to use the pulsar view args method to get the objects passed to the view, and we're looking for something called projects, and that should be a list of projects. So I'm going to use my assertions, assert equals projects size, and the returned projects dot size. And the project ID should also match. Okay, let's go ahead and run this. Great, that passed 2. And I want to add one more test. And in this test, I want to make sure that a user only sees their own projects. So basically, I just want to make some extra projects that don't belong to our user. Do some before we add our own, and instead of user ID, I'm going to create a random user from the user factory. And make some more after we create our own projects. All right, let's run this. Okay, you'll see here my test failed, and if we read the exception, it says argument type doesn't match the column type, project's owner ID. And if you look at this, basically I made my user, but then forgot to get the actual ID, so I'm trying to pass a whole user object to the owner ID column, which will not work. So I need an ID there. And one there. Let's rerun this. Okay, great, now that test passed, and we'll run all of our tests really quickly, make sure they're all still passing. Awesome, they all passed. This is where we're going to stop for today. In the next video, we're going to write tests for adding projects. Thanks so much for watching. Catch you in the next video.